Welcome to Maples Pavilion here on the campus of Stanford University. The 5th-ranked Stanford Cardinal hosting the Florida State Seminoles here on ACC Network Extra. My name is Max Agrest, bringing you the coverage tonight alongside my partner, former professional volleyball player, Naya Crittenden. Last time here at Maples, number 6-ranked Louisville broke Stanford's 20 home game winning match. But the Cardinal has since bounced back with dominating road victories against Boston College and Syracuse. Stanford's 14-3 on the season under 9th year Montag Family Director of Women's Volleyball and Kevin Hambley. Florida State is led by Chris Poole in his 18th year at the helm. He is the winningest active Division I head coach and the 8th person to ever reach 900 all-time Division I victories. Despite the 3-game losing streak, the Seminoles are 8-7 on the year. In the 3rd ever meeting between the Cardinal and the Garnet and Gold, Stanford leads the series 2-0 all-time. Florida State making its first ever appearance here in the Bay Area at Maples. We've got a fun one on our hands. So Naya, coming out here, we can see it's 10 p.m. local time out in Florida. How do you expect the energy from Florida State to come into this one?
Well, for Florida State, even though last week they lost to SMU and number 4 Pitt, still a lot of energy in those matches. We got a chance to talk to assistant coach Allman before the start of this match, and she talked about how it's been an adjustment for them. They've been on the road a lot, obviously, as we know, a big change and a big difference, but for them, figuring out their rhythm when they're in these matchups and really coming into this knowing that they have a lot to learn and a lot to bring here to the table. It'll be a very interesting matchup. Bring here to the table. It'll be a very interesting matchup tonight with Stanford.
Silva, Capilla, and Ewing are all in the starting lineup. That means 3 middles are technically starting for Florida State. How do you expect that offensive rotation to kind of figure itself out as the match goes on?
Well, I think from what we were looking at the start, we saw with Sova, number 15, that she's going to move and be on the right side at this point. So it'll be interesting to see how they mix up each of their players and their middle blockers in this matchup.
And taking a look at the starters for Stanford, it's Pringle, Harvey, Andrew, Ruben, Sayer, Parks, and Etzler. Etzler coming off that terrific last week where she was able to collect her second Defensive Player of the Week award in the ACC. And man, the ACC has been a gauntlet. 6 schools in the ABCA top 25. And I mean, you get rotations in and out. There are just so many talented teams here in the ACC as we have Spencer Etzler starting us off here. Service error on the Cardinal, and it's Florida State getting a 1-0 lead.
I think this matchup is interesting for Stanford. I know we discussed this for Stanford having only lost to other top-ranked teams that are above them, and they're number 5 right now. So the challenge for them on their side tonight is really trying to stay tight, efficient.
Yeah, staying tight, staying efficient, and really just playing into their strengths, which is their efficient attacking. Right side on the attack there, and the net violation will give the point off to Stanford.
See a little bit of frustration there from middle blocker Ewing. Just hit the net there. Unfortunately, a little error to start off, but it's very early on in the set.
Hey, you just got to keep it pushing. You can't get too far ahead of yourself in this early going, and you go right back to her in a second error in a row, just slightly outside.
She has a lot of energy, but still coming in and working on that connection. That set just a little too low for her there. She tries to tip that on the other side of the blockers, but you have 6'5" Lizzie Andrew in front of you. It's tough to find space on a ball like that.
Free ball. Stanford looking to capitalize here. They'll go on 2. And the point for Stanford as the ball bounces right in front of us.
Start of the match, and ball's already heading our way. We had a few of them come over in warm-ups, too.
I was going to say, as many games as I've called here, I think that was the most balls coming towards us in warm-ups. I'm ready. I'm alert. Harvey at the service line, puts it into play. High set to the left side, and a great angle on the ball, and a terrific dig by Etzler.
What a huge swing from Fili Mawa, but Etzler, she is right there.
Going over to Ruben, off the block, into the media table, and that is a point for Florida State. It's 3-2.
You have Sova, 6'5", out there on the pin, taking up so much space on the net. And Ruben, as we know, a very smart outside on that one, really just clamped her on that play.
I think it's just you have to get used to seeing that much size coming at you from that spot. Usually it's on the inside and it's sliding, so that does change the dynamic of how the block will work. Going right back over to Ruben. She collected some fingers on that attack. Back row there. Fili Mawa, man, she's putting some power under it.
Tough free ball there.
Right side on the back set. And the attack goes a touch too long.
That ball set out to our true freshman, Lexi Mason. Just a little bit tough for her to get a hand on that ball. It's set almost a little bit behind her. You can see when she's going up to approach, she kind of had to swing from a little bit behind her head on that play.
The only left-handed player on the team, she'll be playing alongside that right side pin. Ruben gets us started on this point. Quickly over to the middle, sent away. The block was strong, it was Parks, and it was Andrew.
Andrew and Parks have been so solid together. Great read and talking from them on the defense there, being set up to block that middle attack.
They're extremely quick with the attack. Both these teams really like to utilize the middle. Obviously, we see 3 middles on display early on by Florida State. But these teams like going quick to the middle. They like going slide.
When we talked to assistant coach Allman before the match, she talked about that, how her young middles have had to step up at this point in the season and are really coming into their own, and we're seeing that in each play on the court.
And that diverse attack sends it over to Epart Kurt as Stanford collects the kill on, man, just a down ball. Stanford with a lot of momentum early on, and this is a trend we've seen from Florida State as they potentially look for a challenge here. Florida State's one of those teams where in the last few matchups they've come out a little bit slow. I mean, it's tough when you're playing such tough opponents like number 4 Pitt last time around. That first set was 14-25 before going 19-25, 21-25. I mean, they fought hard as the match progressed, but something about just coming into a new territory against a top 5 ranked team, I mean, shivers for a young team early on.
And I think for Florida State, not having Henke on the floor, another powerhouse outside for them. A lot of that pressure is put on Fili Mawa to really show up and perform, and she has done that. Career high 25 kills against SMU last week, so we've seen those performances from her, but it is an undertaking for her as being one of the leading scorers on the floor here, and we're seeing that as they figure out how to adjust their offense and getting everyone involved.
Henke, the senior out of Ulm, Germany, the transfer from Cal State LA, she was potentially going to play in this one, still in the warm-up, still a game-time decision, so we'll see how she is. Potentially might be inserted at some point later on. Obviously, a 2-game road trip taking on Stanford and Cal. And back-to-back attacks from the Noles going wide and long.
Tough one here. Some unforced errors for the Noles at this point, but that's tough for the freshman Mason there, just figuring out her connection with the setter and feeling out being in this starting spot on the floor.
Serve still stays with Rubin. She put a dart on that one.
Ball set long, trying to tip to the corner there.
Went on the slide there for Andrew. Just miscommunication. That's what you expect for some young players.
Tough play there.
Victoria David, one of the players inside. The freshman out of Rio de Janeiro, getting the start today.
And you see some of that leadership coming in from Nicholson, trying to keep the girls in it. Coming over to talk to them after a mistake like that, you have to move on to the next one.
Service error giving them a little bit of breathing room here as it's 8-3. But these two teams are built in a fairly similar way. We talked about the middles and how they love to go with them. We talked about some of the vocal leadership from some of the upperclassmen. On the Stanford side, it's Rubin. On the Florida State side, it's Fili Mawa. But really just the makeup of a heavy underclassmen-driven team. 12 underclassmen, only 7 upperclassmen with 2 seniors. For Florida State, and one of those freshmen for Stanford, and Lizzie Andrew continues to hit so effectively.
And not only that with Florida State, they have a school record 9 true freshmen on the team right now. So talk about really young. They're really putting a lot on those young players that really have to step up at this point already.
And when you've got 39 years as a head coach in your back pocket, you got to feel pretty comfortable allowing your players to develop and continue to grow on the young season.
Well, Coach Poole for Florida State, he's the winningest active Division I coach in the NCAA right now with 939 career D1 victories. So someone who has been in the game for a very long time, brings a lot of experience. You can see even in his composure in the way he is on the floor, right? Just really staying calm with the team and watching as they make adjustments.
David with the point on that last swing. And yeah, I mean, despite the fact he's got nearly 40 years under his belt as a head coach, just so youthful with his energy and his poise. He's almost got the best of both worlds. You got the experience, but you also have some good energy being brought there, collecting some fingers on the swing on the left side. Ipar Kurt with another kill.
Ipar Kurt, she had 12 kills and hit 320 against Boston College this past week. 2 blocks. Every time she comes in, really, really solid on the outside for the Cardinal.
Didn't play in that matchup against Syracuse. Coming in is the redshirt sophomore out of Istanbul, Turkey. And her and Blasov have been switching off on that left side pin position this year.
So glad you brought that up. That was one of the things I was going to talk about, is how both of them have done well in those adjustments when they have come in producing a lot and doing really well at their time that they're given on the floor.
Violation called against Florida State makes it 11-4. And yeah, it's just interesting to see the dynamic because you have players with different skill sets, and we talked about this in our last broadcast as somebody who played under Kevin Hambley back when he was the head coach over at Illinois. I mean, you got to fit the system, but more than anything, you have to be able to show up and be able to play your strengths to the maximum potential.
Yes, and, I think I talked about this before, too, in the way that Kevin coaches with his different outsides, knowing that the players that he gets in, the pin hitters that he gets in, knowing that they all have different styles, but figuring out how to adjust and work on some of those skills, but also be true to everyone's unique and individual style of play as well.
Right off the block, out of play. When you put all that energy and it reflects off a wall, I mean, it's a 50-50 ball in that situation. Ipar Kurt over to the service line. 10 aces on the season up to this point. High aggressive jump serve into the back row. Left side attack for David, and a point to the Noles.
Victoria, 6'1" freshman from Brazil, really coming into her own. We talked about that before the game started, her filling in that spot, not having Henke on the floor, and she plays with so much confidence and so much experience for being a freshman.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see some of these international players come to the college level as that block collected by Erica Sayer. But finishing my point before we move on, you're playing professional volleyball at a young age. She has 2 championships on the professional level before you even come to be a freshman in college. I mean, I think that just really leans into, yes, you have young players, but they have all these years under their belt already.
I think one thing a lot of people may not know about the professional realm, even during my time playing, a lot of times the club teams that are out there, we usually will bring up a few youth players onto the actual squad. So even during my time playing, we had some girls who were much younger that were on the team, and they're getting so much experience and playing at such a high level from such a young age. So there are a lot of players that then come to the US to play in college, and they come with so much experience already and confidence on the floor.
Back on the floor, because we got a heck of a rally capitalized by a block from Jordan Harvey. We've seen the elevation of Harvey before, and she sends that right back into the noggin of Feely Maua.
Harvey, just so much athleticism and solid on the block. And when you have her and Andrew in front of you, that is a wall.
And we were in the middle of a conversation, but that dig from Etzler and the save by Rubin was amazing to see as well.
And that's what we're used to seeing with this Stanford squad, just very solid on defense on all counts.
And Florida State still looking to try to get their defense a little settled here as it's 15-6. Stanford gets to that 15-point mark first, and we've got a timeout here on ACC Network Extra. Back on the floor here in our first set, 15 Stanford, Florida State 6. And Florida State as a young team, they're making a lot of unforced errors early on. How do you come in and overcome that?
Well, we can see for Florida State a little bit of frustration there, as you mentioned, a lot of those unforced errors in the beginning, really trying to figure out what their rhythm is at this point of the set, and knowing that it's really hard with a team like Stanford. You cannot give them too many unforced errors. They will capitalize and they will run off with it. And as I'm saying that, we see them come back out of that timeout, really ready to go, a lot of fire, knowing that they have to take it by the next play and the next play.
Nanuka Pia with the kill. And I think that's a great adjustment too. You've tried to go to your middles, but it's been a little out of sync. So get a timeout play drawn up for one of your best players and the young freshman out of Melissa, Texas, and get the point just like that. An answer down the line, and it's Harvey, the elevation sensation once more.
Harvey, she had 8 kills against Boston College last week, 2 blocks, and is just super solid for the Cardinal on the right side. So athletic.
Yamamoto was in a good spot, but just the elevation of Harvey not allowing that play to really have any chance. And a great answer on the other side by Feely Maua. 16-8 our score. We get some substitution. Our first look at Lily Nicholson, the transfer from TCU.
And we see this substitution here as Florida State running their 6-2. Sent to serve.
6-2 with that setter on the backside. A slide sent back. No opportunity here. Stanford, a good opportunity to set up a great attack, but the block of Stanford strong. Left side, cross-court shot. And that ball goes out of bounds. A little too much mustard on that dodge for Feely Maua.
A little bit tough hitting on the outside for a couple of players now on Florida State's side. I think for them, just trying to get used to seeing Andrew in the front and figuring out where they can go. I know a few of them trying to aim for high hands and had a few balls that have gone long.
They've got a couple 6'5" players on both sides of the net. And Logan Parks, she is a setter, but she's got that ability to attack it. If you leave it right at the net, she will dunk it on your dome.
Logan Parks, so athletic. The freshman setter and opposite at times when she needs to be. She, against Boston College, had 5 kills and or dumps in that matchup, so she's very aggressive at the net.
Bump set to the left side. Epar Kurt trying to hit that corner, but a little too long. That's something that feels a little unfamiliar for Stanford. It seems like every single time we see them aim for that back line, they kept it in play.
Yeah, and for Kurt, a couple of shots now really trying to go for those high hands. Usually works out well, but sometimes you miss.
Yeah, that's just the nature of it. Keep your confidence. That's all you can do, right? Setting over to the right side, it was the middle and Andrew with the attack.
I love to see Andrew hit that out-of-system set from Kurt.
And you go right back to her on the slide. Good save there by Nicholson. And the attack on the other side, man, it's just these balls going ever so slightly wide left or wide right.
A little tough here for Florida State. Having some trouble finding the floor, especially with a lot of these out-of-system sets. A lot of their sets have been off the net. I know that's not easy when you're trying to find your approach, get your feet to the ball. The ball's really far off the net and trying to make sure you keep it in while still trying to be aggressive.
And Florida State's still 2 timeouts in their pocket. They haven't used one up to this point while they trail 10. So I think it's just really trusting the players and letting them develop on the fly here, as another attacking error for Florida State makes it 20-9.
And that's just a tough ball there. That set from Nicholson.
And we finally do get our timeout there.
Yeah, and for Ewing on that ball, I mean, you can see her approach to it. The set just a little too low for her. You see where she even made contact with that ball, not able to really get on top of it. So maybe just a timing issue with Ewing and Nicholson on that play.
Yeah, and obviously shorthanded are Florida State as they come into this one. They were really hoping to get Henke back in, but she's obviously not there. And as you shift around that young lineup and you have some players playing out of position, it's just really difficult getting a feel, especially, like, I heard this analogy and I'm going to use it as well. When you're running that 6-2 system, that means you have 2 setters coming in. You always have 3 attackers in that front line. But it's almost like a 2-quarterback system in the NFL realm or the college football realm, where it's just kind of hard to get your feet wet and it's kind of hard to get your offense going.
It can definitely be tough, especially because you have limited time on the floor to really make those connections, right? And when you're thinking of, an outside like Fili Mawa who never leaves the floor, she's adjusting to 2 different setters, 2 different tendencies. It's not easy, and so I think for this Florida State team, it really is about finding that consistency, and that's what we talked about earlier. You do have a young team, so there's going to be errors. There's a lot of adjustment going on here, and running a 6-2 is something that, while it can be also very, very beneficial, as you said, you have 3 hitters up, but also usually 2 solid blockers also on the right pin. Again, going back to that comfortability and the consistency between your 2 setters on the floor.
Coco Kirsch over to the service line to start. And yeah, that rhythm is just going to be one of those things that will be a talking point all throughout the night. It's just if they will get the rhythm and how they'll get a rhythm, and at some point, do you ever switch to that 5-1?
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see if that scheme changes at all so far in this match.
Coco Kirsch sends it into play. Going right back to the middle again, a big swing by Ewing. Left pin attack, collecting those hands. And it's E-Park Kurt with the kiss of death.
The E-Park Kurt, she's so calm on the floor. It's one of the things I find so interesting. You can't ever really tell what's going on with her. She's always steady when she's on the floor.
Yeah, you would think somebody that can throw down the hammer like that would be a little more emotional, but instead, just steady hands.
I love when I see her put a ball down and it's just kind of like shoulder shrug. That's what she's used to.
Keep it moving. Dump ball into read well, but the miscommunication there as Erica Sayer wasn't able to get the pop-up.
So Florida State trying to have a response, come back with some power and fight. We get late into this first set already.
It is 21-10, taking the timeout. And now it's Kaylin Russ, the sophomore out of Winter Garden, Florida. Going right back to the slide, and I love that so much. Erica Sayer, a little bit of a hiccup last time, set her up on the attack, and Erica Sayer throws it down.
Erica Sayer against Boston College, 9 kills, hit 583, 5 blocks. I mean, just performing for this Cardinal squad, and another touch block there, right there.
Sending the ball over, so they're able to get it there. System right down the middle, the quick attack. We've seen it on the slide, and now we see it on the quick attack.
And as I was just talking about her and her performance, coming in with just so much energy, and we've seen her just pound the ball each time we've watched her play.
It's the difference of it being 7:30 here in California and 10:23 out in Florida. The Tallahassee players coming out, and they just showed up a touch flat here. A service error on the side of Stanford will keep it 2 points away from the victory here in the first.
So that's 6-2 substitution. On the floor here.
In the front.
Freshman outside hitter, 6'1", Waylon coming in.
And Stevenson with the ace. That is her 6th on the year. And I think it's just so important to come out and just try to collect a little bit of consistency and some momentum as you go into the second. 23-12 the score here. Middle attack. This time it was Harvey.
Great dig from Ruben.
Going right back to the middle, touching that net after the swing. And looked at the Erica Sayre, so a couple points in a row now for Florida State.
A little tough attack there from Sayre. Didn't quite get that one over the tape.
Yeah, that's
but a rare mistake.
You have 6'5" of Lizzie Andrew, and you have 6'2" of Erica Sayre as your two middles.
Wow.
Talk about somebody who can get over the tape with ease. It's Jordan Harvey, who's having a heck of a start.
And the save there from Parks. Harvey comes in flying. Florida State, unfortunately, not ready on that play. It was so quick.
That is what she does. E-Park Kirk to the back line. It's 24-13 set point here in the opening set. One-hander, and on the off-speed, great job by Nunu Kapia with the point.
Nunu Kapia, a very smart adjustment there on that set. She sees she has two blockers in front of her and finds a perfect spot for that tip. Nobody is there. That is a really tough ball to get to.
Victoria David trailing by 10. 24-14 still the score here. Going right back over to Harvey, who's been the offensive catalyst up to this point.
Tough out-of-system set for Fili Mawa.
Over to Harvey, off the block, and the point to Stanford. 25-14, Cardinal take the opening frame, and it is all card up to this point on ACC Network Extra. (25-14) the score as Stanford with a dominating start in the opening frame. But in the last matchup against number 4 ranked Pitt, it was 14-25 to start, and they started chewing back into this one. It was really close until really the end of the second and third set, so there is no quit in the Seminoles team.
Yes, and as we talked about with Florida State, a lot of building and a lot of figuring out the roles on the floor. You have a lot of young players that are coming in, and there are a lot coming in with a lot of confidence, but still trying to figure out how they can show up. I know we talked about some of the limitations as far as the pin hitters not having Henke on the floor. A lot of that, energy from them and what they need as far as leadership coming from Fili Mawa, number 12, on the floor. Last match against Pitt, they relied very heavily on her. It was very tough. She had a lot of errors in that matchup, but had 11 kills and led her team in kills in that match. So something for her too, trying to figure out how to find the floor, knowing that the teams are clamped on her because she is their number 1 producer.
Yeah, and I think more than anything, it's about those setters coming in and finding the right spots for her. We saw it really early on. The sets are just a little low, a little outside. It seems like they just haven't been able to get in that groove so far.
Well, and I think the main thing too with this Florida State team tonight that we're seeing, not really able to get a 3 and 4 pass. That means almost a perfect pass, or a pass where the setter can go to at least 3 hitters on the floor. When you're running a 6-2, you want to be able to have 3 pin hitters ready to attack. So right now, a lot of their pins having to hit really, really tough out-of-system balls. It just makes running your offense very difficult.
And we talked about how great the freshman-to-freshman connection has been all year long with Parks and Sayre, but in that situation, that is the opposite side of the coin. A set and then just slightly off rhythm for Sayre there.
Seeing a few more errors than we're used to between those two in their connection so far in this match.
Sayre still leading the team at .432 with a hit percentage. And of course, when you need a point, what do? You go right to Elia Rubin.
Rubin, the high flyer for this Cardinal team, and you know she is going to find space. If you leave her a seam, she's going to take it. I say that every time.
You know what's hilarious when everybody talks about Rubin? Everybody talks about Oh, she's the only All-American to come back for Stanford this year. Like it's a normal thing to have All-Americans all across the board. But Ruben, couple points back to back, and I think that just really speaks volumes about what Kevin Hamley has been able to do here at Stanford, that everybody gets woe as me, the fact that you only have one All-American coming back.
Well, when you're used to having 3 and 4 on a squad every year, and even from before Kevin's time, it's one of those things that they have a reputation to uphold.
Exactly. 9 national championships, 23 Final Four appearances for the Guard. Going back to their number 1 player in Fili Maua, and she's able to get the point off the block that time.
Maua finding a way to use the big block in front of her. She's had the toughest matchup, but we know for the Cardinal the matchup that they wanted, having both Andrew and Harvey in front of her.
And I think it's just about changing your game in this situation. She tried to go power a little bit early on. It was sent back now. Just work with a little more finesse. And the power of Lizzie Andrew on display. All 6'5", elevating up and putting that ball down.
6'5" Andrew against Syracuse last week had 10 kills, hitting .625. She's been balling.
Stanford loves their middles, and we got 2 that talented. I see why. Back set going to the right side. The attack by Whalen. Ruben, cut shot in the kill.
I love that out-of-system set. Put her on the net, and you see Ruben just go in, and she sees the space there. That's a tough lineup from that Florida State block. They needed to take one more step inside, gave her a lot of space, and she just capitalizes. I mean, that ball looked like it was going to hit inside the 10-foot line almost.
Ruben throws it down again. You leave it over the net, and 13 will make you pay.
Ruben is taking ownership of this match, of this set right now, as I should say.
She only had 3 attacks in the opening set, and now coming out, she's already got 4 on the first 5 points for Stanford.
And hitting .375.
As Harvey sends it in with the serve. A little different on the approach that time for Fili Maua as she sends it a little long. It was almost like she was setting up like it would be a slide.
Well, her coming in for that ball for Fili Maua, as I just talked about, it's been very hard and a lot of pressure on her. She's getting a ton of out-of-system sets, but out-of-system sets that are really far off the net. And I can see it in real time that she's trying to adjust. She's watching the defense in front of her. She knows she has a big block. And normally we see her come in with a lot more aggression, a lot more confidence. I can see her right now trying to figure out maybe why it's not working out as well. And as I talked about, there's a 2-part to this. It's some of the approach, but it's also some of the sets that she's getting and really trying to find that cross-court corner on these swings.
Jordan Harvey with the service error. Sending the point back over to Florida State. And side out just like that. Lizzie Andrew with another slide and another point.
Lizzie Andrew, so effective so far at this point in the match.
Yeah, and as we made the comparisons between Fili Maua and Ruben before, I think it's just a matter of taking a look at what's going on the other side, because the build of these teams is pretty similar in terms of you got a 6'5" middle in there, you got a big block on both sides. Now it's how to work off that block. On the dump, 2-handed jam. Logan Parks.
Parks, so aggressive, and I just love to see it. She is not afraid to go up and joust with anyone at the net.
Freshman from Overland Park, Kansas. We've seen a ton of great players coming from that area. Ruben with an aggressive serve, and she collects the ace. Elliot Ruben, 4th in the ACC in aces per set, and that is her 24th on the season.
Such a great, solid server for Ruben. She's someone that finds a way to always target the other team's outside hitter. Whatever hitter is on the pin that needs to come around to hit on the outside. So solid.
On the ace, it's 9-3. Stanford will take the media time, and alongside with them here on ACC Network Extra. 9-3 the score in the second frame after Stanford takes it 25-14 in the opening frame. Up to this point, Stanford really efficient, .425 compared to the negative .095 hitting percentage of Florida State.
Yeah, for Stanford, just so efficient in the way that they play. As we can see, they have stayed really in system in a lot of plays. They've handled Florida State serves really well, and the serve receive is doing such a good job of making sure Logan Parks can get to all of her hitters.
Stanford coming into tonight's matchup 7th in kills percent, 7th in assist percent, and 8th in hit percent. And another kill collected by Epar Kurt.
And some of Kurt's kills are so funny in the way that she just sends it. And sometimes for a lot of other people, seeing that ball kind of sail out, they're immediately like, that ball's out. She always finds fingers, the top of the fingers, in such a great way.
Yeah, just chiseling off that block. And Rubin continues this long run, 4-0 run for Stanford.
Nicholson really trying to push tempo on the other side with that set to Ewing, but not able to capitalize on that quick set there.
And this has been all Kurt. Of course she gets the point as well. She gets the pop-up, she gets the dig, she collects the point.
And a little roll shot straight to the middle of the court. No one is there to pick that ball up.
Yeah.
Smart shot from Kurt, seeing where the defense was on that.
Up to this point, you expect to see Yamamoto collecting a lot of these balls in the middle of the floor. The transfer from Louisiana was the Sun Belt Libero of the Year, as Andrew gets the kill for Stanford. But really, up to this point, Stanford's just been doing a really good job putting it in one spot she can't necessarily get to.
They've done a really good job also of just keeping it away from her. But I think also a part of that, too, it comes down to Florida State's block. Leaving certain seams, maybe that they shouldn't, not being able to close the block with the way that Stanford runs their offense and their tempo.
Out of system attack there, off the set from Yamamoto. Right side on the slide, nearly getting the point. Off speed, great dig here by Etzler. Left side, Epar Kurt, and a diving save by Nicholson.
Florida State really not able to, miscommunication there. Nicholson taking that into her own hands. She's like, okay, I'm just gonna find a way to score.
Yeah, that is a heads-up play, and that's how you get a little bit of momentum back after trailing on a 6-0 run, as it's 12-4 now. Sometimes you just gotta get a little unorthodox.
And you can see the fatigue, too, on the Florida State side, just trying to figure out a way to score. The set's not really working out for a lot of the hitters and really trying to figure out how to adjust. And I know that is very exhausting right now for the girls that are on the court.
And the service error is not going to help alongside with that. When we were talking to Coach Lindsay Ullman before this matchup, she was just talking about how they're looking for answers on offense. And up to this point, they tried a few different looks with not much success.
Yeah, and you can kind of see that in the approach as we're seeing on the floor right now from the Noles. Trying to figure out how to score with a big block in front of you and an efficient block and a very strong defensive team. You're having to change what you normally are used to doing, especially on your swings.
Big swing on the right side as the freshman and Lexi Mason able to get the kill. And it's interesting to see, obviously you're preparing for the other team. You're not necessarily playing against your own team, even though it is practice, but the buildup of the block is very similar between the Card and the Noles, but it's just how you go effectively attacking it. That's really what Florida State is trying to figure out all night long. A little bit awkward on the receive there. And Parker into the net.
Just a tough ball there. It's a very high out-of-system set from Parks. It's all the way in the corner. Trying to get that out to her on the outside. Just a tough approach there on that ball.
And with the recess lighting in the stanchion above us, it is a little bit blinding when you have to look all the way up into it.
Yeah, it seems like she lost track of the ball on that play.
Pushing it over on two, setting to the left side, going right back over to Epar Kurt.
I like that swing turn down the line there from Kurt.
And Victoria David, unable to put it over the net.
And again, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier with some of these out-of-system balls from Florida State. I know they've been in a lot of tough spots with the defense, not really being able to get that ball in front of the 10-foot line to be able to run an offense. And so, as I said, the out-of-system sets are really off the net. And so for the players and their swings, also having some troubles there. But we see them turn it around right there with Nicholson running to save that ball, keeps it high enough. And David comes in and capitalizes on the top of the hands and Stanford's block.
Yeah, Etzler really dove trying to make a play at that ball, but this is too far out in front. 14-7 the score here.
Stevenson, another setter for the Noles, transfer from Montana State. She started 2 seasons for the Bobcats before coming to Florida State.
And it is Epar Kurt's evening, leading the team with 7 kills as it's 15-7. Yeah, you had a lot of impact transfers in this one. Players from Iowa State, Montana State, University of Louisiana, you have Henke, who is a transfer from Cal State LA, a Division II player from a couple years back, and she's one of your best offensive players. And it's just about getting everything to mesh. You know, a team down from the south just in that gumbo cooking up right.
Little adjustment there. That's a tough ball. Stevenson trying to save that out of the net. Pretty low set there, so tough error for the Noles.
Now Kurt will be in the back line as she's the one to serve. And does not let up. Unless you obviously can't get over the net. A very dangerous front line for Stanford there. And Kurt's service error makes it 16-8.
Actually quite a few service errors so far in the match for Stanford, trying to put a lot of pressure on the serve receive of the Noles.
To the right side, back over to Harvey, and the block was strong that time. Noles make it 16-9.
Nenu Kempia on that huge block there. She is so high up, 6'2", took up so much space on the net. What a great read from the Noles on that block.
It's a really strong block that time. David serves, Rubin answers, and Rubin with another kill.
You see Rubin, she sees Kempia coming over to take away the seam that she normally wants to be able to take, and she is one of the best blockers on the Noles. You know, in high school, she was blocker of the year, offensive player of the year, so comes in very strong in that position.
A lot of accolades there as it's a diving save by Anna Pringle.
Anna Pringle with that save, just a hustle. Look what that hustle turns into, a point for your team. That was amazing to see.
Yeah. What I've been noticing from Florida State is it feels like they've been thinking a lot. You can see it on their approach as the attackers go up to the net, and you just almost see the gears churning in their head. So being able to get that hustle play, just get back into playing volleyball. Don't think too hard, just play volleyball.
And it's a big difference from what we saw last week against SMU. You could see when they went up and they went after it in that game. And even though that one didn't go in their favor, it was the difference in energy in the way that they approached that match.
On the left side. And let's see, that did collect some fingers. The attack went right, but caught some hands on the way out.
And as we were just talking about that approach, you could see from Fili Mawa on that ball, that was one where she tried to go after it and really take control of that play.
That one was really close. I think in the situation where you're up 17-11 with the momentum that you've got, no need to really challenge that one. The service error will make it 18-11. We talk about how difficult it is for Stanford to go to the East Coast with the ACC, but man, you have that advantage coming to the other side. I think it might be a little bit easier to play at quote-unquote 4 p.m. than it is at 10 p.m.
Definitely, and you know, it can kind of change your fatigue levels, as we know. You know, playing this late, and basically they're going to be playing until midnight in their time zone.
Yeah, that circadian rhythm really does affect your performance. And a great performance up to this point as it continues for Elia Rubin.
Rubin is just on fire. 7 kills, hitting over 400 at this point in the match.
7 kills for Rubin, 7 kills for Kurt. Those are the 2 players, and a great kill on that side by Fili Mawa. And they got a nice looking opportunity and sent it down the line.
Fili Mawa, she's really starting to come into it, as you talked about earlier, just the difference in the faces. We could see that determination coming back to her right now, getting a better connection with the setter, and really for Florida State in general, just being able to make better plays these last few points.
19-12 her score. Lily Nicholson, the junior out of Bikini, Texas, puts it in play.
Perfect pass from Rubin there. That ball kept alive. We'll get a free ball.
And on 2, Parks goes, and Parks scores.
Logan Parks, I mean, she's already been an ACC weekly selection at this point in the season, really leading this team. And I say it over and over, but her as a freshman and the way that she carries herself on the floor, you would not think this was her first year in the ACC and in college volleyball.
Again, Parks shared a room with Elia Rubin to start training camp, and I think those 2 months in that dorm room really just allowed her to collect all the great information that Elia Rubin had in her head and just imbuing confidence into her young freshman setter. Going over there to Florida State. It is 2013 still. Mark sets left side, back over to Curtin, comes back into rotation. Trying to go over to David. Sent away. Free ball. Right side on the slide. Too long. Lizzie Andrew just setting it too hard.
So they're going to call a challenge on this. I think Kevin is looking for a touch. He's asking Andrew right now if he thinks it was a touch or not. See if they're going to call a challenge on this.
Victoria David had her hands in that general area. And off the initial review, it looks like it might have just caught that left pinky. Got a great angle there, and yes, that is clearly off the left side of the fingers. Caught the ring and the pinky finger.
It's one of those plays that's always very hard for the up ref to see from the other side. Like you said, just the little minuscule touch there on the end, and the down ref not able to see it. But usually it's always one of those things where you try to hear it as much as you can, and sometimes it can be hard to tell.
Replay review. I believe it's in its third year now at the Division I level. It's a new thing in relativity, but I mean, just adds such a great dynamic to the play.
Yeah, when I was still playing, I remember toward the end of my career, especially in the last couple of years in the tournament was really where we got the replay.
Yeah.
But yeah, in regular season, we didn't have that option. So even then, you know, the challenge kind of coming in later. And I had more experience with that playing pro, of course, with replays and challenges, but yeah.
Coco Kirsch with her 5th ace of the year. And yeah, shouts out to all our DV Sport engineers coming out here and giving us the great looks, and it's so awesome to see it either at the college football level with the ACC giving us a nice inside, and obviously we've got it here right on the sideline as well. Coco Kirsch, the redshirt sophomore out of El Toro High. She's been coming in as that serve specialist.
So solid as a DS for the Cardinal.
Going on the right side, tack off the block, hits the top of the stanchion. This is a free ball. If it's on your side and it hits off that top scoreboard, it is in play.
Great dig from Kirsch.
Off speed this time, and the pancake dig.
Nicholson with that save.
One right side, going Sayer, going yard. 23-13, it's back up to a 10-point advantage for Stanford.
Tough swing there, you see, from Sayer. And Lili Filimawa reaches her hand out for that one. You can see they're kind of uncertain whether or not that one was touched off of the top of the block, if she should have gone for it or not. Unfortunately, touches the ball, and Sayer gets that point.
3-0 run for the Card. Back setting, yeah, just out of system. Had to come all the way from that back row and just didn't have an opportunity. And an opportunity galore for the freshman in Sayer as she puts it down the line. 24-13 set point here in the second.
Huge, huge swing from Sayer. Exactly what Stanford needed to get themselves here to game point.
All the fans on their feet. Coco kicking it off. This one is in play. Set right side off the block and off the shoulder. Great opportunity here for Stanford. Parks, left side, E-Park, Kurt. And the off speed is true. 25-13. Stanford closes the second on a 5-0 run. And they lead 2-0 going into the third here on ACC Network Extra. So, some second break theatrics coming down. We have popcorn all across the floor. And Stanford, I mean, their offense is popping up and throwing it down. They're hitting 403 compared to Florida State, who was, I mean, it feels good to be in zero, if that makes any sense. You were a negative the entire night, so you're hitting .000 on your hit percentage. Max Agress, bring you the action here with Nia. With all the out-of-system looks the Seminoles are setting up, how can these hitters come in and adjust to it?
Well, you're talking about a huge difference right now in the way that Florida State is handling those out-of-system sets versus a team like Stanford. And one of the main things I've talked about, what we've seen so far in this matchup, is how far off the net Florida State's attackers are when trying to hit against a big block in front of them. It's very, very difficult the further off you are to really be as accurate as we're seeing. They're struggling with that accuracy, right? So I'm far off the net. Where can I go? I can't hit straight down. you don't always want to hit straight down, right? You have 2 blocks in front of you. You don't want to hit into the block. But even then, I feel like it's been hard for them to track the ball and track the block in front of them to be able to aim high hands and really go off that. You see some of the pin hitters trying to do that. Unfortunately, they're missing out. The ball's sailing out of bounds a lot right now. But it's tough when your players are not in rhythm, even with the out-of-system sets. And out-of-system is a part of volleyball. You have to learn to adjust to it. But as I said, for the Cardinal, keeping their players a little bit closer to the net, that's why they've been able to capitalize so much on their out-of-system sets on their side.
Nia Crittenden, got to give your last name as well. I messed up on that one. Alongside Max Agrez here, bringing you the action in the third set. 25-14 in the opening, 25-13. It's been all Stanford the entire night long. And yeah, you have a lot of players with experience on the national level, but at the same time, it is a roster filled with 9 freshmen for Florida State. So it's just a matter of trying to get any sort of offense going. And off the timeouts, that's what they've been able to do well, but now it's continually carrying the load as we got a back row attack from Filimawa, able to find that soft spot right there as she tries to inject some energy into her team.
And Nicholson has been trying to find Filimawa in the back row attack. She set her a couple of times so far, but so far we haven't seen her actually take a swing yet, just because of where the set has been for her.
Yeah, they've been punches. They haven't been clean swings. Mars going to the middle, the underhand shove that time from Andrew. Outside attack, getting all her effort behind that one. Victoria David with the kill. She leads the Noles with 5.
And David has been someone that the team has looked to really try to get this offense going. Had some tough moments so far in this matchup, but someone who's really stepping in. I know we've talked a few times about Henke and her filling that role, seeing her build her confidence in this starting position.
Harvey, who's been great, gets the swing there. They'll go right back over to Harvey. Back row attack, a clean swing, and a great read there by Etzler. Over to Rubin. Bump set, right side. A little bit awkward angle there on the swing from Mason.
Good dig.
Punch down the middle. Great answer there from Florida State. We've seen some great rallies up to this point. Kapia able to capitalize after a great back and forth.
Kapia making a great adjustment on that ball and finding space between that Stanford block. Andrew just a little bit late trying to get up to block her.
There are a few Florida State fans that have made the trip over to the West Coast. They're getting their little chop going on right now as they're feeling a little bit of momentum swing their direction. Mark setting over to Rubin. Off the touch, the joust one. And they found their offensive answer in Kapia.
It is 4-0 right now. Florida State leading. A big change from what we saw in the first 2 sets, really coming back with some energy, and we're seeing an even better connection at the start of the set already between the pin hitters and Nicholson.
With that 5-minute timeout in between the second and the third set, it's used almost as if it's a halftime, so whatever they drew up on the board, whatever energy they sent in, and now the luck coming alongside with them. That ball went straight into the arms of David. It pops up over the net in play, and Stanford forced to take the time out. Immediate timeout as it's 5-0 Seminoles as they trail 0-2. Going into this third set. 5-0. Noles with the advantage here in the third after they trailed 25-14, 25-13 in the 2 opening sets. And it seems like the team that's usually got their foot on the gas the entire time falling asleep on the wheel for a second.
We've seen that a little bit, and I think it's just sometimes with a team where they're facing another team that they feel like, oh, you know, as you just said, they beat them 25-14, 25-13. You know, knowing that, yes, this is a challenge, but they've been able to do so well with handling this team. And so maybe sometimes you lose a little bit of focus starting that third set. Sometimes it's the mentality of maybe thinking the match is almost over, but it's not quite yet. And as we see from Florida State, we talked about their adjustments and trying to figure out their rhythm on the floor. And we saw them come out very strong in the start of this third set.
Lizzie Andrew with the point and the service ace on the other side for the card. And that is exactly what Kevin Handley laid into them at that timeout taken. Jordan Harvey, 18th ace of the year. And I really love going back to that last kill with the first point. You go to your bread and butter. You go to your quick set up the middle with Andrew in the almost automatic attack.
And a tough error at the net there. Touch from Ruben. So Florida State will take that point. So a few unforced errors to start this set for the Cardinal.
Stevenson in the back line in that 6-2 rotation there. Parks setting up the slide, going long. Lizzie Andrew, one of the top players in the NCAA in hit percentage. She leads the ACC at .457. Couple loose balls coming your way, and the Noles with their chop. Don't let the fans start singing. Going back over to Ruben. This one sent her the net after a thunder strike.
David with both of those digs, just sending them right back over, but almost scary. I mean, Stanford missed that first one that she sent over there. That one almost landed in the corner up in the 10-foot line, and she comes back with an answer of her own in that kill.
Victoria David with the kill. And this is when you lean back into that pro experience that she had back in the past, a two-time Superliga champion and a South American champ as well. She has a lot of volleyball under her young belt, and they're going to it in this third.
And has played with a lot of experienced athletes as well.
And the experience on that right side.
Whalen coming in. Such a young player, and has been getting some looks so far in this match. In the 6-2 rotation.
5 kills versus Auburn. Wake Forest and NC State playing in limited time, and she'll have some opportunity here. Ruben finally gets the point back. That's what you got to do. The middle's starting to not work necessarily as efficiently as you want. You go back to your best player, and she makes it 3-9 with the Noles advantage.
You can see the determination on Ruben's face when she went up. I see her tracking the ball and tracking the hands that are in front of her, and she's so efficient with being able to get a touch off of the block and out to score points.
As the kids say, she's locked in. Locked in on that block on the left side. Andrew and Parks putting it down.
Huge block there. You could see David trying to speed up to get to that ball. It was a little tight to the net, so she didn't have a ton of space to try to make something happen, and Andrew is just clamped over the tape. You're not going anywhere with that one.
Ruben with that aggressive serve. This time into the net off the head of Andrew.
See a little bit of frustration there from Ruben. So frustrated that she missed that serve. She knows that Kevin, as we talked about coming out of that timeout, he's wanting them to pick it back up and play as efficient as they were in those first 2 sets, and they're trying to make their way back, chugging along here.
By Etzler. Going back over to Kurt. And on 2. Stanford was there to pick it up. Deep part, Kurt off the shoulder. 5-10.
So good there from Kurt. You see her wait for that ball being sent all the way across the court. A good push there from Harvey, trying to get that ball to her on the outside, and she's patient, goes up, takes a really solid swing as we see high hands. Great play there, and a great swing from Kurt.
Coco Kirsch, who was able to capitalize on those last 5 points at the service line, nearly collected another ace. Feely Mala with a clean opportunity, and you can see why when you feed her clean, she can really put a lot under it.
That was one of her best approaches that I've seen so far in this match, the way she got her feet to the ball, and that swing and that play, she had so much confidence. Even with that out-of-system set being off the net, you can see the way she approached that was very different from the way we saw her approach other out-of-system sets so far in this match.
Capilla checking out. Kaylin Russ, the sophomore out of Winter Garden, Florida, back to the service line for the second time. Parks going right back to the slide, and that line shot just a little too far right. In this in this third set, some of the freshman mistakes being on display by the freshmen on the other side of the net for the Card.
It's one of those things that we've seen a little bit in certain moments with the Cardinals, especially when they're playing a team, as I said, one that, you know, they're able to win the first 2 sets, and it seems like the game might be a little bit easy, right? But I know in the way that they scout these teams, it's never about being easy, and just as the type of coach that Kevin Hambley is, Every team deserves respect no matter what their rank is, and it's something that we can see here on the floor.
Second timeout taken by Stanford as it's 13-5. As Feely Mao with another kill. We're going to keep it here for this timeout. And this screams Chris Poole right now. He came in, he made his adjustments at that break in between the second and third set. And this is how he's been able to get 947 wins. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And right now, Florida State coming out and they're executing on all levels.
Absolutely, and we talked a little bit about that hitting percentage. They went from negative, now they're at 106 so far on the match, but in the current set, they are hitting 529. That is a huge change from what we saw in the first two sets. I mean, that is a complete 180 turnaround for this Florida State team.
And I think it goes back to a lot of what you were talking about with that you need to capitalize on every opportunity you're given. Some of them might not be the perfect sets. Elevate, account for it, and make them pay.
Yep, and we're seeing that even with their players. Victoria David, she has 7 kills, hitting 250. Feely Mawa, she was having a really tough time, had a lot of errors, but now she's hitting 0, so making her way back, and we're seeing that efficiency start to come back here in this third set.
It's almost like you flip the script. At this point, Stanford hitting 0.59 in this third compared to the 5.29 of Florida State. And it was almost like it was the opposite way in the second set.
It's been a complete change actually on both sides now, and you can see that with Stanford, that normal poise that we see, you know, the relaxed nature, and also just the efficiency and being able to capitalize on everything. Making a lot more errors right now. I mean, just unforced errors on little things. A lot more net violations that we weren't seeing throughout most of the match. So Florida State not only coming back with a lot of energy, but also being able to capitalize on some of the errors that the Cardinal are making.
And with the talented team, this is the ACC. There are no weak teams. You have talent all across the board. It's just a matter of how you can mesh and how you can put everything together. And I think that is what we're seeing on display right now. All the talent finally finding a little bit of groove. Now, can they keep it going? And can they steal the third from the Cardinal? 13-5 the score. On the joust, this time won by the 24 in Garnett. Delaney Ewing overpowers Logan Parks.
It is not very often that we see Parks overpowered. I talked about how aggressive she is when she goes up at the net. She goes up to hit, she goes up to dump, she goes up to joust on the block. And we have not seen that from her at all this match.
3-0 run, nearly a 4-0. And Etzler with that flat-footed attack wasn't able to get enough under it.
10 points. What a push for Florida State. 15-5 here.
Feels like these teams have switched jerseys at this point. The way that the action has gone. Off the top of the net on the let serve. Going back over to Kurt. And Kurt with a much-needed point on that back line as it's 6-15. Kurt in double digits in kills now with 10.
Kurt really taking on, helping to lead the Cardinals at this point in the match, hitting 304.
Great sit there on the right side. Another free ball. You need to capitalize on the situation.
Oh, and that's a tough one there.
As that one sent away. Sayre blotting out the sun, and you can see it, Feely Mawa just not having that opportunity as that set was so far away from the net.
And just a tough play all around. David coming in for that really, really short ball there out of the free ball, not able to get a perfect pass to the setter.
Parks with the serve. Couldn't get over the net for Feely Mawa. The idea was there. She tried to go cross court. It was a diving attempt there from E. Park Kurt to get there, but I don't know if she would have gotten there if it did go over the net. Timeout taken by Florida State here as it's 15-8 advantage in the third.
Yeah, and you see that timeout coming right for them at the right time. I know for Coach Poole, seeing that there might be an adjustment here, there might be kind of a change in momentum, and they don't want that to happen. They've had their foot on the gas this entire time from the beginning of this set. So I know for them, they're most likely right now talking about, hey, we're leading, we're doing really well. We cannot let them come back. They want to capitalize on this moment and keep Stanford down if they want a chance to maintain the rest of this set and also the match.
Local time in Florida, it is about 11:13 p.m. And maybe just the second win cut. You came in a little tired. You got your rear end beat a little bit in those opening 2 sets. Now, come out strong. You get kind of that nocturnal energy breathing into you.
And you see that change with all of the players on the floor right now. A lot more positivity, a lot more energy coming into this third set. And you can see just in the interactions, and still really coming at this. This is a fight. They have the lead right now. Can they take this and can they maintain this momentum all the way to the end to close out this set and push this to a fourth?
Kylene Maua, one of those players that's really just breathing life and energy into this team. You can see coming out of the timeout, she's getting her team riled up. She's getting them fired up. She's getting them prepared and ready as Stanford goes on a 3-0 run.
Also for Florida State, seeing some adjustments even from the younger players. You had a few that have come in and out and some that have had errors, but knowing that they're still also figuring it out and they're still learning. We've seen some of those adjustments so far.
Logan Parks in that back line as she serves. Dug up by Fili Maua. And they go right back over to her. Bump set from Etzler. Right side, Harvey gets the kill.
Harvey is so effective. She hits often even down the line, able to turn that ball. Just a great swing, and she finds space between the blocker's hands as she turns the ball. You can see that in the air. The turn of her wrist when she swings away at that one.
Yeah, because of how high she's able to jump, she almost has a second to think up there in the air, and it's so difficult to do. She reads the block and is able to think for that second that she's airborne and able to get the point. And Stanford now on that 5-0 run as they make it 15-10. And you gotta feel the butterflies in your stomach right now if you're Florida State. You did so well to build up what once was a 10-point lead, and now it's cut down to half.
And even with them still being up by 5, Stanford is one of those teams that is patient and chugs along, and they always find a way to chip away at someone else's lead. We've seen them do that time and time again.
As Park sends that wipe right, it's only a matter of time. It's so difficult keeping that serve so aggressively in play.
I talked a little bit earlier about the Cardinal. They have 6 errors to Florida State's 2 so far on the match. So trying to push a lot of tempo, but also making some mistakes along the way.
Lily Nicholson out to initiate. Parks goes right side. Sayer on the slide, and it goes wide right once more. Sayer up to this point only hitting 250 on her young career up to this point, 432.
Sayer on that swing. I know she's been trying to find the line. Those last 2 shots, she's just missed wide. I think the way that she's approaching the ball and coming around for that slide attack, really facing outside of the court, not able to get around it.
Net violation called against the Knowles, coming up trying to get them blocked, and it looked like it was Ewing who just hit the bottom of the net.
Tough error there.
Yeah, just collected it with that 2-hand scoop.
Not the error you want from Florida State at this point, but still leading 17-11.
Yeah, but this is where you can start to feel the twine start to unravel a bit when you're making those type of errors. Terrific job setting up that out-of-system attack. Ewing capitalizing, and the momentum back with the Knowles.
We're seeing a complete difference in energy, as you said. It's like the 2 teams have flipped at this point.
Yeah, Nicholson in that situation, such a difficult job even getting that one-handed set. Little by little, the Knowles trying to climb up to 25 points first. Going back over to Harvey, this time she goes cross court. David off the block, Etzler with a terrific dig. Free ball. Setting left, going back over to David. Couldn't quite get all the effort behind that one. And Rubin off the block, sent right back.
We'll send a free ball over. Stanford having to work really hard at this
Back row
point.
attack, sent away. Point off the block from Erica Sayer.
That's just a tough play there. I know they're trying to get Fili Maua involved on that play, but that's just a tough set. I mean, she can't really do anything with that. I know she tries to swing at that one. That's one of those where you have to be really careful. You just want to keep the ball in play if you feel like you can't take a swing at it.
You don't have the stat off the top of her head, but this is some of the most free balls I've seen in a whole entire match from Stanford, and it's been in really the last 2 sets. Good answer there by Stanford, making it 18-13. Both teams have taken all of their timeouts here, and that's the chess match of what we've seen. And for Florida State, what can you do to get these final 7 points? It feels like the tug and pull finally starting to go back both ways.
It definitely is a tug and pull, and it's literally the tug and pull of seeing Stanford trying to climb out of their mistakes, but unfortunately right now still making more. And so Florida State really holding on and maintaining this lead, and they've started to do some really great things here, as we've seen a lot of changes, even in their serve receive, being able to stay in system just a little bit more, better out of system sets, and their players really going after it and attacking with full force on the hits.
Yeah, that's the difference. They're playing volleyball right now. They're not thinking, they're not scheming. They got all their scheming done in that timeout break, and now they're just balling.
And for Stanford, trying to figure out how you respond. You can see Coach Hambley talking to his players. This is not like them usually. Usually they're really, really clean, really efficient, but here making a lot of errors. So how do you talk to your team in this moment? What do you tell them? Hey, we go back to the basics. We need to go back and do the little things. We need to serve well, serve in. We need to go back on the serve receive, get that ball to the 10-foot line, get that ball to Parks, and let's start working on our offense. Start moving the ball around, and everybody else come in and really start to take good swings.
Yeah, you obviously played under Kevin Hambley back when he was the head coach over at Illinois. In this situation in the past, have you been in a similar type of spot?
Definitely, and it's not easy to come out of, especially for a team, and not saying that this is Stanford's mentality. I do think that they go into every match, it doesn't matter who it's against, where they want to play well. But sometimes for teams, it can be hard. It almost can be a subconscious thing where you go in and you're like, okay, we're 2 sets up, let's finish out this third, and then the other team decides to come back with a lot more energy. How do you handle that? You have to figure out how to adjust.
Ruben with the attack and getting the kill. That is a great way to adjust after the timeout for Florida State, as the card cut it down to 4 points. And I think in this situation now, Stanford is just leaning on some of their experience. They're going over players, 3rd year in the system for E. Parker, the only senior on the roster for Elliot Rubin. I think that's the difference Stanford's making in these last few plays.
And you see that difference in the way that Rubin approaches. You see, even as you mentioned, a lot of free balls, but that's also Rubin just being smart. She sees she literally can't take a good swing at this, and so for some of those, she's choosing to just set the ball over the net when she's gotten sets that she feels that she can't do anything with. So you see that. You also see her taking some off-speed shots, different angles, something that she knows the defense isn't ready for on the other side.
That's the difference. We've seen a few middle sets, we've seen a few slides, but for the most part, they're going to some of their veteran leadership in their upperclassmen. Harvey, Kurt, alongside Rubin. And one of the upperclassmen on the other side, and Feely Mawa with the back row attack.
Feely Mawa with that attack there. Not only that, but the perfect pass comes around for that attack. Really textbook play there from her. I know we talked a little bit with assistant coach Allman before the start of the match, and she talked about how she's really come into her own this year. And as we talked about too, last season, she actually filled in as a libero at certain points.
First time ever.
Yes. So really an all-around, very skilled player on all fronts.
You know how conditioned you have to be a 5-sport athlete as well? Basketball, beach volleyball, track and field, I believe in some rowing. You can see all that effort and energy here as she keeps things going in the 3rd.
Solid block there. We'll go back to Rubin.
Rubin off speed this time, a great dig by Nicholson. Mason sent right back. Out of system for David, and the block was strong. That brick wall did not budge one bit, as it's 19-16, just like that. It's a 3-point set.
You see some of that frustration on David right now after that play. That was just a tough setup for her. That ball kind of in the middle.
Trying to go to the middle, sent right away, Kapia. Not much opportunity there. Lead cut back down to 2.
Stanford, as I said, my favorite line, chugging along and really just slowly, patiently cutting away at this lead in a way that only they can do it, as we've seen.
Great moment in front of us there. Lily Nicholson, the junior out of McKinney, Texas, talking to her young freshman middle blocker, giving her that idea of this is what you got to do to come back into it. Harvey sends that one long, and it's 20-17. No timeouts left on either side.
Stanford now 7 service errors on the night, so A lot more errors than I know that they would like so far in this match, but we now have the substitution. Stevenson back in for the Noles.
Ellie Stevens back there to serve, and she's answered quickly by Elia Rubin. And that is a big point there for Stanford because of the fact that Stevenson in that back line was part of the strongest attack for Florida State in this third. Stevenson out of San Leandro, you got to expect a lot of her families here. As this is a homecoming of sorts for her. Stevenson sets, back row, Capilla, directly into the arms of Hetzler. Bump set, Epar Kurt, collecting off the block. 19 Stanford, 20 Noles.
That was a great play from the Cardinal. Lizzie Andrew getting in to save that ball so close to the net and able to pop that up in a perfect spot for Kurt. Love to see that.
The way she was able to bump set it too, she almost used her legs to decelerate that ball to allow a great opportunity on that set. Off the block, out of bounds. David comes back with power, able to get the point.
David able to capitalize on that Stanford block, not afraid to go up and swing away.
You can feel it from the demeanor of the bench for the Noles as well. They were cheering, they were jeering, they were doing their chop, they were throwing Ava Lambert about 6 feet up into the air. And now, hands clasped tight.
Ooh, tough ball there. Did not get a double call on that from Parks.
Both sides a little sloppy on this point. And Epar Kurt makes the most out of it.
1 point difference. Already.
Kurt, 13 kills.
And already for the Cardinal, for them to come back by that many points at this point that we are at in the third set is really just incredible and points to the patience that they have, and even through the mistakes, the way that they've still been able to score.
Yeah, but some of those plays that seem to be going the direction of the Noles and quote-unquote lucky plays going the opposite direction. And the preparation on full display, Epar Kurt not playing in that matchup against Cuse, and she's collecting all of the points tonight, 14 kills.
Hitting almost 400 at this point, and she has been able to adjust to anything they are giving her. Any ball, she's getting any out-of-system set. She is finding the floor and finding ways to score.
27 total attacks tonight. She leads the team in that category as well. Going back to your player. This time, wasn't able to collect any hands on the way out.
One of the few.
21. Yeah, exactly.
One of the few at this point in the matchup that she wasn't able to get in touch. There's some where even for us, we're like, wow, she got a pinky on that one.
Just chiseling away at those digits. 1 point matchup here in this tightly contested third. Going back over to Kurt, high off the block. Clean set, an opportunity to the left side. Here's Fili Maua. Parks with the swing.
Just a tough mistake there from Parks. I know she does come in sometimes and will take a swing at the ball. Tough play.
Yeah, on that pirouette, that centripetal force just a little too wide right. Going back over to Sayer on the block. This one's still up in play. Goes right over the shoulder. The first set point of the evening for the Noles. It's 24-21. Noles fighting back.
It looks like Florida State has the opportunity to take this to a fourth set.
All the Noles fans in the building standing up, cheering. Joust at the net. No opportunity on the side for Stanford. Kurt with the massive point there. Back to 2. Stanford fighting to try to push extra points.
And this is a tough spot to be in for the Card. Down 2 points, Florida State with the game point right now.
Got to keep these serves in play. Able to do so.
Perfect pass there from Fili Maua.
Great job after the middle attack. Going back over to Kurt. Diving save by David. Out of system attack. Flying in was Etzler. Kurt!
Great save from Fili Maua. Can she do it here? Trying to go for the
No,
touch.
she cannot. Wants the challenge here.
Doesn't get that one. We'll see if they challenge, see if she gets a touch on that ball.
And we will indeed get the challenge. Checking out that touch. No challenges. I believe there was actually a challenge from Florida State early on that they lost, so this is their second. If they lose this one, this will be the last.
We will see if she was indeed correct and got the touch on that play. And
Ooh,
it's hard to see from our angle. We're too far away.
That one was right in front of the
And it's one of those
official
that's
right there. So he did have a great look because it was right in front of the up official.
Let's see if we can. That is one of those tough ones where it could be at the tip of the fingers, but if we can't get a close enough angle, it can be very hard, not only for us to see, but for the refs to actually overturn that play and give that point to Florida State.
Yeah, we haven't seen the angle from that near side pin yet. I think that will be the angle that we want to see to try to get it. We just don't have enough frames to try to catch that digit moving yet.
No, we need that shot from right in front of the up ref here on the net.
And this is the one we're looking for right here. Oh, and you missed the frame.
You missed the frame, and it looks like she may not have gotten the touch there.
Yeah, that's tough.
I think it was close, but I don't think it was quite on the tips of the fingers. We also look for the movement on the hands.
Exactly. I was going to say, even though you do miss the frame, the movement kind of looks like it's right there, not split. And I think Stanford will get this. Oh, it's reversed, so Florida State will get the point. 25-23. Florida State comes out, and they get a massive third set to keep this up alive. 25-14, 25-13. Stanford took it in this one, 23-25 as Florida State extends. So with that, we'll take the break alongside with them here on ACC Network Extra, going into the fourth. 23-25, Florida State able to take the third to force it to a fourth. In this situation, 5-3 on the year are the Seminoles in fourth sets. Stanford 6-1, their lone loss, 24-26 against Louisville in the last time they were here at Maples. And so the energy was brought and it was on display by Florida State in that third set. The Cardinal came out, they made a push late, wasn't able to get over the top on that very close call at the very end of it. So now, what energy does Stanford need to bring here in the fourth to close this one out?
Stanford is most likely going to come back with the energy they had in set 1 and 2. The third set for them, you could tell, was very frustrating. They thought they were going to be able to close this out in 3. That doesn't happen. Florida State comes back into that third set with so much energy, and that fight that we saw when they played SMU last week, in the way that they were able to capitalize on so many of those moments in the third. So Stanford really coming back into this with more focus and hoping to be able to be the efficient team we know that they are to try to close this out. But Florida State, also another team that we also know has a lot of energy and really great players on the floor to throw another team off kilter.
And Stanford goes to their bread and butter. Elia Rubin on the left side collects the first point. Rubin over 10 kills up to this point. That's her 11th on 27 swings. She has been very efficient at upwards of 300. They're in that back line. Barely tipping over the tape. This will be a free ball. Going middle on the quick set. Great pancake dig there by Yamamoto. Right side, Harvey! Got some digits on the way out. 2-0 lead. And the energy and focus is on display. Not very much talking on the side of Stanford. They are just eyes laser focused trying to get out of there.
You can see that immediately already in these first 2 points. Stanford really staying tight on this, as we see, really pushing points on all sides right now, on the serve, on defense, and on offense already. And this is what I talked about coming out of the third set and how they were going to approach this set.
14th ace of the year for Spencer Etzler, in her freshman campaign. And these are the mistakes you cannot have. You missed out on so many of them, and that's why you were able to be successful in the third, but out of sync, just off point with their sets now.
Well, you said it in the third set. It's like they switched jerseys and they switched sides as far as that efficiency and being able to push so quickly on in the first part of the set. So Stanford already doing that again here.
Back roll in the attack. Etzler able to get the dig off the hit from Filimawa.
And that was
Ruben with the kill.
That was a big swing from Filimawa, but Etzler handles that one, and then Stanford with Ruben coming back with her own huge swing there.
Spencer Etzler, 19 digs on the young evening, coming off her second Defensive Player of the Week award in the ACC.
Stanford ended the third set hitting 0.98, and already in the first 5 points of this set hitting 750.
They've done it on so many different ways. A quick attack, you've seen the tip, you've seen the power, and now a great read. And you finally start to see the smiles crack off the face of Stanford as Florida State forced to take this timeout as they trail 6-0 to start this fourth set here on ACC Network X. 6-0 to score here in the fourth as Stanford leads 2-1 at this point. And so Florida State came out in that second or after that second timeout, and they started getting their offense really going. They upped their hitting percentage. They really set themselves up in a good position with some of those out-of-system attacks. And Stanford just, it seemed like the freshmen were starting to make freshman mistakes. So turning the page here in the fourth, right?
And we see that with Florida State. They are already hitting negative 250 in this fourth set. And we see a point come through from Filimawa, sneaking her way through that block in front of her, trying to get back in this. And as we talked about, the complete switch from the third set to now, where this is what Florida State was doing to Stanford.
Back to the service line, Mio Yamamoto, the senior transfer out of the University of Louisiana Lafayette. Harvey cross court, Harvey with the kill.
Huge swing there from Harvey. She's having a great match so far. 7 kills, hitting 353.
And the point goes to Florida State off the service error. And yeah, just, it seemed like in that third set, Stanford let it go away. They were trailing by as much as 10 just off some boneheaded mistakes. And just, these are some of the freshman mistakes that you might see throughout the season. And now it's just, can you continue to learn from it? And can you just grow past it and get right back in the system?
Sometimes that happens, those lapses in focus in a team, and you know, there's lots of different reasons for it. Some might say if the team gets too comfortable, you know, thinking that they have the win in the bag, that can happen, but there's lots of reasons for it. And I think for Stanford, it's also a good learning curve too, to figure out, hey, how do we not let that happen when we feel like we have the lead? How do we continue to maintain that lead, even in those tough moments? And if we feel like there's a lapse, you know, in focus, how can we come back together to capitalize in that moment? And they started to do that at the end of the third, but just couldn't quite pull away from Florida State.
Back to back with the slides, and Lizzie Andrew able to get the kill. And I think that's what you want to do. You want to go back to what's been working all night long, or all season long, I should say. Those middle attacks have been working perfectly for Stanford up to this point this year. And somebody who's been on display all throughout the night, Epart Kurt. She is the leader with 16 kills.
Huge swing for her. Just finding space on the block, and from the far away eye, it might look like that block was up and solid. She somehow always finds a way to sneak that ball through.
She just somehow gets it through those crevices. Hands running through her hair after missing that serve. Elia Rubin giving herself a little pep talk here.
Rubin and Harvey both have been struggling a little bit on the service line tonight. Quite a few errors for the Cardinal. I know they're trying to put a lot of pressure on Florida State's serve receive.
And this time, the first back row attack of the evening for Jordan Harvey. And that's where she thrives. 10 feet behind the line, flying through the sky.
I'm laughing at even Coach Hambley's face on that ball.
Honestly, that's a play you see in men's volleyball. To get that high above the net from way behind the line, you don't see that often in women's volleyball.
Harvey showing off her athleticism and wanting to remember, for her, still young player as a junior, still so much more development to go for her, and already so great, such a great addition for the Stanford squad. What a swing. I'm still thinking about that one.
Yeah, that one had me awestruck for a moment. Tapia with the point and the answer for Florida State as it's 10-4, 6-point advantage for the Card.
Perfect pass from Ruben.
Right there through the slide, and that one straight into the block, straight down the floor. Tell me about the adjustments that these middles have been making. We've seen them with lower hitting percentages than we're used to, and it just felt like some of the shots were going wide, some of the cut shots were going long. How have these middles adjusted for Stanford here late?
You can see in that play with Sayer coming around, she really was able to take that ball back inside. Now, normally that would be tough because there was such a big block in front of her, and still able to sneak that ball through and get a point. But the errors that she was making in the last set, trying to come around that slide, and I think she thought she had more space hitting down the line and was just missing wide on those.
The adjustments have been made. Feely Maua able to get the score in the last possession. Lily Nichols out to serve for Florida State, going right back over to Harvey. And Jordan Harvey, once again, another high boom.
Harvey showing off her ability there, able to turn the ball in different directions. You see the way she approached it and turns that ball around the block. And Florida State just really not ready for that one on the defense.
Pringle puts it in play. Going back over to Feely Maua. Dug up by Etzler. Ruben on the tip. Good job with the read from Feely Maua. Etzler with another terrific dig. Harvey had to cock back to get that one. And just that little bit of indecision forced Florida State to have a little indecision of their own. And all the momentum the way of Stanford up to this point in the fourth.
With the way that Harvey's been swinging, they were a little more back on their heels on the defense on that, expecting a big hit from her. And so her being out of system, off speed, tipping the ball, trying to keep it alive, no one was ready for that tip.
Right back over to Harvey. Yamamoto digs that one. The slide attack for Mason. Now it's Ruben. Feely Maua over to Etzler, who's been reading it well in this fourth. One hand climbing the ladder. Sayer with the quick attack kill.
That entire play was textbook for the Cardinal. I mean, Etzler with that one-handed save right to the setter and just really chugging away and making good plays. And I think people also forget sometimes in volleyball, even if you don't always score, it can still be a good play. You're making the team have to play defense and have to be ready for you at all times.
Going back over to Harvey. Diving save there by the setter. Over the net, having to send the overpass. Trying to go left side. This one drifted a little too far out. And Stanford unable to capitalize on the many mistakes there. Feely Maua would be credited with the point. And this is the adjustment I want to talk about momentarily. Feely Maua has been going to that far side corner, and they've just been parking Etzler there to dig up some of those powerful shots.
Really great adjustment there. But it's tough when you have a libero like Etzler there. It's taking away one of your strongest shots. It's been harder for her to find the floor, and I've noticed she's had more success really being able to go off the top of the high hands or even hitting a little more seam.
Going middle. Back over onto the joust at the net, eventually taking Ruben onto the other side. So when it hits the scoreboard, if it's on your side of play, you can keep it going. But if you send it over the top and it hits the scoreboard on the other side of the net, it is a point to the other team.
You can see some of that frustration there. These last couple of plays, the ball has gone into the scoreboard. So Stanford needing to control those a little bit more and bring the ball down just a little bit, but we're seeing again the shift as we talked about in the fourth set, the little shift in focus here. You can see some of that frustration on the players' faces, on their coaches' faces. Hey, let's figure this out. Let's calm down, play by play, and when the ball comes in, the pass to the set to the hit.
Delaney Ewing with the block and the point. Setting the left side over to Ruben, and Ruben unable to keep that one in play, just a smidge wide right. And before we move on, I just want to talk about just the setup of Maples. That scoreboard is a little bit lower than some of the other venues out in the ACC, so it's interesting to see kind of how that dynamic and home court advantage goes the way of Stanford most of the time. Going right back out to Harvey, the line shot off the block and the point.
Harvey is on fire right now in this match. Only 2 errors in the entire match. She's been so efficient every time they've given her the ball. She has been finding different ways to score.
Leading the team and hitting percentage at 375. Blotting out that corner once again was Etzler. Rubin off the hands with the kill.
Huge swing from Rubin, and one that the Cardinal really needed. I know she was a little frustrated on that last play and a couple of those hitting errors. And coming back to do what she does best, find those hands and score.
Rubin with the kill, making it 16-9. Last time out taken by Chris Poole and the Florida State Seminoles. And in this situation, I think what Stanford has done is they've gone back to what they've done perfectly all year long. Don't get away from it. Stick with your guns, with your quick middle attacks, with your slides, and then just trust those upperclassmen on the outside to be able to get you those much-needed points.
And you can see in that tough stretch of points that they had there were a couple of errors, and I was kind of watching to see if Coach Hambly might come up to call a timeout, especially when they had almost 3 in a row, but he doesn't. He lets them figure it out. You see Harvey come back with a kill. You see Rubin then come back with a kill. And so those are the moments where it's tough for a coach. You might want to call the timeout, but it's about figuring out when you let your team figure it out on the floor without you coming in to intervene.
And we saw that a lot with Chris Poole and his team at the beginning. He wasn't taking his timeouts until you were trailing by essentially 11 points. So it was like, what, 20-7? And I think that was part of the reason why they were able to climb up in the third where, hey, we made all of our mistakes. Let's go ahead and show off what we got in that third. And up to this point, I think it just goes the other way now. It's Stanford taking their opportunities, growing as a young group on that floor, and just showing that, hey, we are the better team at the end of the night.
And that's what they're proving right now, 16-9. But as we saw, this game has a lot of momentum shifts. Anything can happen. And yes, they're in a lead, but can they maintain this lead all the way to the end? Now, normally from what we see from the Cardinals, they can. They capitalize. They really, as I like to say, keep their foot on the gas and they run off with the match, but we'll see what happens here.
Etzler to the back line. Last time we saw her here, she had a service ace. Could definitely use another one of those out of the timeout. Florida State has been great out of timeouts. They go with the back row attack, and this one just a bit too long with Feely Maua.
Feely Maua, so far on this match, I've seen her really find that back line, and she usually does that so well. It's been a little bit tougher for her tonight.
The former all-ACC freshman led the Knowles and Diggs. We've seen her hit the floor a couple of times tonight. Point on the answer from Florida State makes it 17-10. And Feely Maua has been one of those players that they've just gone to time and time again. The former Gatorade Player of the Year in the 2022 season out of Washington. You talked about it. In the biggest moments, she shined the brightest. 25 kills, 10 digs with that double-double against SMU. And in this moment, I think that's what you got to continue to do. You got to keep going back to your best players and letting them ride out the rough tide. The best players on that side of the net, and Harvey with the big swing for Stanford. Now it's the freshman making a freshman mistake. Lexi Mason just a little too high over her head with that swing angle.
And Lexi Mason has been a little more quiet tonight. We saw her a lot more in the first set. She was being fed a lot more sets in that one. But so far at this point in the match, haven't seen her as much. We see Nicholson trying to go back to her and get her more involved, and it pays off there with a point.
Yeah, great job there. And what we saw in the beginning opening 2 sets is the Seminoles just trying to find their offense with their players, as we saw a 3 middle blocker lineup to start the matchup. And I think they found out who their players are and when you want to go to them. And I think that's the biggest difference of what we've seen. You had sets a little errant here and there, and eventually they've cleaned things up. And I think putting it in those situations where your players want to perfect it or want that ball for a perfect shot is what you're looking for. As Lizzie Andrews continues to get some big shots, sending it right down to Yamamoto with the point.
She apologizes for that one where she hit her on that play, but luckily only got a shoulder, didn't get the face. I think that's what she was worried about. Did she get the face?
Yeah,
Was it kind of in the shoulder?
Face. It was
she did.
Right there in the,
right on the top of the shoulder into her head. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, tough swing there and a lot of heat on that ball from Andrew.
And the service ace there by Elia Rubin leads the ACC. This is her second of the night, and you got to feel like the monkey's off your back in that one. A couple service errors the last time we saw her on that starting line.
And comes back with an ace, exactly what the Cardinal needed.
20-11. Your lone senior getting you started here on this point. Trying to go over to the freshman, and the block sends that ball away. It was the freshman Logan Parks with the block.
He not able to do anything on that ball. That was just a tough one. Really, really low set. She has a huge block in front of her. Nowhere to go.
And as Florida State trails 21-11 with a 10-point advantage for the Cardinal, I think consistency will be the key for them going forward. And the let's serve with another ace.
Another ace for Rubin. We talked a lot about Stanford's service errors. They have 10 on the night. At least they did have 10 on the night. Seeing them come back now.
On a 3-0 run, Rubin trying to close this out. Setting up to the middle. Parks sets on 2. Back row set over from Rubin, and Epart Kurt stays out of the netting after that swing. Etzler able to collect it after the huge strike from Fili Maua. Free ball goes wide. Stanford with the point, 23-11. To 11, the score here. Stanford looking to close things out here with Rubin on the 5-0 run. Points away, and Stanford has taken all the momentum here in the fourth. They had a moment where they tried to climb back after trailing by as much as 10 in that third, and trying to get her third ace here on this round at the service line was Rubin on the slide, and that hit the foot of the official, which means it's out of play.
A tough one there from Andrew. She's had some really, really solid, awesome swings so far on the night, but just a few of those slides that have gone long. I think just trying to find space there. She wants to go after the line, which is a great move. The block is not in front of her, but just hitting those a little bit long.
And then that is a credit to the block, forcing her into those situations. It's Epart Kurt making it 24-12 after the kill. Set, match point for the Card.
Kurt has been on fire all night, just so efficient. I talked about this earlier on in the match.
And Zaria Queen in her first match here at Maples. Able to keep this one in play. The debut for the freshman, and wasn't able to get the dig here. Zaria Queen, the outside hitter out of Honolulu, Hawaii.
And you see smiles all around from Kevin and her teammates. So excited for her to come onto the floor. I know she may have been a little nervous coming in, but a great serve to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Put it in a good spot, you kept it in play and gave your team an opportunity. Parks going to the slide and the down ball. Erica Sayer gets the final point as the Card take it 3-1. 25-14, 25-13, 22-25 in that third. And 25-13, Stanford able to get the victory after 4 sets of play. The ACC is no slouch. On any given night, everybody can give you a fight. For our entire production team here at Stanford, my name is Max Agrest, joined alongside Nia Crittenden. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you back next time. You'll be on the call on that one. October 19th, we got Ranked on Ranked Miami coming to town here to take on the Card. And until next time, thanks for joining us. Have a great evening, folks.